The scent of fresh coffee and buttered toast drifted through Murphy's diner as Rebecca Martinez moved between the tables with practiced ease. After 8 years of wiping counters, refilling cups, and memorizing regulars' orders, her hands followed familiar rhythms, movements so ingrained they felt like muscle memory. The cracked window near the entrance let in a beam of golden morning light that warmed her shoulder as she paused beside table 6. There sat the elderly man who had become one of her quiet favorites over the last month. His name was Harold Peterson, a retired postal worker, or so it said, whose pension barely stretched far enough to cover his medication. His jacket was clean but threadbare at the elbows, and he always ordered the same thing, a cup of coffee and 1 slice of toast, the cheapest meal on the menu. Today his fingers shook more than usual as he tried to count out his change, small silver coins scattering across the worn formica surface like raindrops. Rebecca's heart tugged. Something in the gentleness of his manner, his soft good mornings, and the way he always thanked her twice reminded her of her grandfather. Without a second thought, she slipped a warm blueberry muffin onto his plate while her manager wasn't looking. She'd done things like that many times for folks who looked like they needed a little extra kindness. But this morning would be different. This simple gesture would ignite a chain of events that would challenge everything she believed about generosity, consequences, and the unexpected ways life could turn on a single moment. That muffin wasn't supposed to go out. Frank Stevens' voice cracked through the diner like lightning. The manager's heavy footsteps approached from behind the counter, his face twisted with irritation. He was a man who had built his authority not on respect but on fear, stern, unyielding, always thinking of the bottom line. "Those cost money, Rebecca," he snapped. "We can't be giving away free food to every sob story that walks in here." Customers lifted their gazes. Chairs stilled. Forks froze midair. Rebecca felt heat rise up her neck. "He seemed hungry, Mr. Stevens." "It was just 1 muffin." Frank scoffed loudly. "Just 1 muffin today. Just 1 burger tomorrow. That's how businesses go under." His voice grew sharp enough to slice through the tension in the room. "You want to run a charity? Do it with your own money, not mine." Poor Harold's face flushed red as he slowly lowered his gaze, clearly embarrassed to be the center of attention. Rebecca's stomach twisted. "I'm sorry," she whispered to him. He simply nodded, sipped the last of his coffee, and set down his usual $2 tip before shuffling toward the door. Rebecca watched him leave, feeling as though she had somehow failed a man who had done nothing but sit quietly and try to enjoy his morning. The rest of her shift was suffocating. Frank hovered like a shadow, watching her every move. By the time her break came, she stepped outside just to breathe the crisp October air. She called her son Miguel away at college. She recounted what happened. Miguel's voice softened with understanding. "Mom, you did what Abuela taught us. When you have little, share what you can. When you have much, share more. You were being human." His words steadied her, but anxiety still lingered. The next morning, she walked into the diner, only to find Frank waiting by the counter, a termination letter in hand. "I warned you," he said coldly. "You're fired." Just like that. 8 years gone. A pink slip and 2 weeks' pay. A career built on loyalty tossed aside over a $3 muffin. Other employees avoided her eyes. Regular customers stared with sympathy. Mrs. Chun, the elderly woman who always ordered green tea and wheat toast, approached with trembling hands. "This isn't right," she whispered. "We all saw what happened. You were only being kind." Rebecca walked out carrying a cardboard box with her apron, her family photos, and a succulent Miguel had given her. The October wind felt sharper than ever as she stepped onto the sidewalk, suddenly unsure how she would pay rent, support Miguel, or even afford groceries. That night, she spread her bills across her small kitchen table. Without the diner job, she had 6 weeks before falling behind. Miguel texted her, offering to take a semester off to work full-time. Her heart ached, but she refused. His education would not be sacrificed because she chose kindness. The next 3 days were grueling. Rejection after rejection chipped away at her confidence. Maybe Frank had been right. Maybe she was too soft for this world. On Friday morning, desperate for a moment to clear her head, she wandered through the downtown district. Tall skyscrapers stretched toward the sky, their glass facades glowing under the autumn sun. She paused in front of one particularly massive tower, Peterson Holdings. The name tugged at her memory. Peterson. Harold Peterson? Her heart skipped. Could it be a coincidence? A security guard stepped toward her. "Ma'am, do you need help?" I'm looking for someone," she stammered. "An older gentleman named Harold Peterson. I'm not sure if he—" The guard's eyebrows shot up. "Mr. Peterson, are you here for an appointment?" Before she could speak, a voice called from behind her. "Rebecca, is that really you?" She spun around, and there he was, Harold, but not the Harold she remembered. The shivering, quietly dressed man from the diner was gone. In his place stood a refined, confident gentleman in a tailored suit that looked like it cost more than her monthly rent. Rebecca blinked, struggling to reconcile the two images of the same man, the humble diner regular counting his spare change, and the polished gentleman stepping out of a sleek black sedan. His posture was straighter, his presence commanding, yet the warmth in his smile was unmistakably the same. "Harold," she breathed, I don't understand. What are you doing here?" He approached with the same gentle expression she remembered, but now with an unmistakable aura of authority. "I was hoping I'd see you again," he said, "and I heard about what happened at Murphy's." "You heard?" Rebecca's confusion deepened. "How could you—" Harold paused, letting the gravity of the moment settle, before speaking carefully. "Rebecca, my full name is Harold Peterson," he said quietly, gesturing to the towering glass building beside them. "And this is my company. I own Peterson Holdings." Rebecca's breath caught. Her mind raced. The name, the building, his sudden transformation. "You're that Peterson?" she whispered. "The billionaire on the Forbes list?" He nodded. "I inherited my father's real estate empire years ago. But over time, I felt disconnected from the people my company was supposed to serve. So for months, I've been visiting small businesses across the city, quietly, anonymously, trying to see life on the ground level." Her knees felt weak. She held on to her purse strap like a lifeline. "You had no idea who I was," he continued. "You just saw an old man who looked hungry, and you fed him, with no expectation of anything in return. That kind of kindness is rare." Rebecca shook her head slowly, still overwhelmed. "But I was fired because of it." Harold's expression hardened. "I called Murphy's yesterday looking for you, when they said you'd been terminated for helping me." He exhaled sharply, anger flickering across his usually gentle features. "I knew I had to find you myself." He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small folder, and handed it to her. "Inside is an offer," he said. "A real one." Rebecca unfolded the document with shaking hands. Her eyes widened. A position, a real corporate job, a salary far higher than anything she had ever dreamed. "Director of Community Relations?" she whispered. "Harold, I don't have the experience for this. I've only ever been a waitress." "You have something more valuable than experience," Harold replied. "You have compassion, authentic compassion, the kind that moves people, the kind that changes lives. That's what this role needs. The rest we can teach you." Her eyes stung. She imagined Miguel's face, her grandmother's teachings, all the customers she had quietly taken care of over the years. She imagined the door opening, a future where she didn't have to choose between bills and hope. "The salary will support your son's education," Harold added softly, "and give you the stability you deserve. All because you chose kindness when it cost you something." Rebecca felt her world shift. Slowly, she reached out and shook Harold's hand. And just like that, her life changed. 6 months later, sunlight spilled across the polished floors of Rebecca's new corner office. She sat behind a sleek wooden desk, reviewing scholarship applications while sipping a cup of coffee. Framed photos lined her workspace. Her with Miguel at his college graduation, her grandmother's faded portrait, and a picture of the succulent plant Miguel had given her years ago. It now thrived in the sunlit office, fuller and greener than ever. Her role as Director of Community Relations had blossomed into something extraordinary. She helped create scholarship programs for working students, establish support networks for elderly residents, partner with local diners to provide free meals for low-income families. Every day, she used her voice, her empathy, and her life experience to help people who reminded her of the customers from Murphy's. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't just working a job. She was fulfilling a purpose. A gentle knock sounded at the door. Harold stepped inside, holding 2 coffees. "Morning," he said with a friendly grin. "Thought you could use this." She accepted the cup gratefully. "You always seem to know when I'm running low." He sat across from her and nodded toward the file on her desk. "How's our newest scholarship recipient?" "She starts nursing school next week," Rebecca said warmly. "She cried when we told her." "I did too." Harold chuckled. "I'm not surprised." Rebecca glanced toward the city skyline, the golden afternoon light reflecting off the buildings. "Sometimes I still can't believe all of this started with a blueberry muffin." Harold leaned back thoughtfully. "You know what I learned while visiting those little diners and shops," he said. "Most people are kind when it's easy, when they have enough. But you were kind when it cost you your job. That's the difference between charity and character." Rebecca's eyes drifted toward the direction where Murphy's Diner once stood. It had shut down 3 months earlier, unable to keep up with newer, kinder competition. She'd heard Frank was working at a fast food chain now. She felt no triumph in that, only sadness at what fear and rigidity had cost him. "I think about that morning sometimes," she said softly. "What if I had followed the rules? What if I hadn't given you that muffin?" "Then a hungry old man would have stayed hungry," Harold said simply. "And neither of us would have learned that the smallest act of kindness can create the biggest changes." Rebecca felt warm bloom in her chest, steady, quiet, and full of gratitude. Her grandmother had been right all along. When you feed someone's hunger, you feed your own soul. Rebecca had lost a job for feeding someone in need, but gained a calling that allowed her kindness to reach hundreds, even thousands. She smiled, feeling the truth of it settle deep within her. Sometimes, the seeds of generosity bloom when you least expect them, and in ways you never could have imagined.